Hey guys. Um, I may have jumped the gun a little bit. I went straight into pretty much how DB drag and stuff, and I may have left out a few people that really needed to be talked about. And one of them is Mark Fukuda. He's from Texas. The RTTI training for Rockford Fosgate. If you ever wondered how, why Rockford Fosgate was as large as they are in the minds of people, and how they got there, pretty much they had a good product, but Mark Fukuda was one of the winningest guys that really started it all the way up until 95. And he had a disagreement with Alma Gates, and that's actually pretty much what brought her into the mix. I've got some pictures of Mark's truck here. I think this is from the 1994 IASCA finals, and I want to say it was in Oklahoma City, is where it was at, Oklahoma. I'll give you a shot of that and let you see what you think about it. It's immaculate, it's beautiful. It's one of the most well planned out vehicles, that early in the game and in the SPL game, that really just you could see how far he was ahead of most people, just an install technique at that time. He was and the reason why he was, he went to R2TI to train, people. He's a really, he was way ahead advance wise, and as far as what he was doing with SPL and stuff, than anybody at that time. He was the, if you want to have a grandfather of SPL, it would have to be him. And like I say, there's been a lot of stories about a lot of controversy around the story with him and Alma, but there was a disagreement, to say the least. And at the time in Arizona, Rockford Fosgate and Precision Power, which is what Alma originally ran, they were right down the street from each other. So I lead you to believe that they kind of knew that Alma was coming, because 95 ended up being the last time for Mark Fukuda really to compete or whatever, and I think he really went into the RTTI training stuff for Rockford, and he passed on a lot of his stuff to a guy named Tim Maynor. And Tim Maynor's vehicle, I will show it too, and a lot of the technology and stuff, the way it was built and stuff. I think that Mark had a lot of input on that, helping Tim and stuff, from Rockford. But I'll give you guys a shot at that and look and see what you think of it. Yeah, on that I actually added in Richard Clark and Tim Maynard as well, the bread truck they brought to the 97 finals in Greenville, South Carolina. It was super unique, one of the craziest builds that you'd ever seen. I mean, the subwoofer, it was one subwoofer, it was 6 foot. Um, had 3 settings on it for throw. I want to say that it was crazy, low end. It was somewhere in the 13 to 19 hertz range, somewhere around there. It when it actually played, it actually blew one guy that was holding strap, trying to hold the doors on that. It blew him off of it about 5 feet. It was crazy. And it's one of those things, if you hadn't been there seeing it, you wouldn't believe it, but there's the pictures to show it did happen. And then the young Jonathan DeMuth. A lot of you guys that probably still, know who Jonathan is from his, his business and stuff. I've got some stuff to say about Jonathan in a different video. He actually towed my vehicle to the 99 World Finals. He's been a good friend to me and a good guy. But I also showed, if you in the video, you see that, or the pictures, you see that the Team Rockford and how large Team Rockford was, and Mark Fukuda was kneeled down. He was second from the left on that, and but you can see, they had a huge team there. They were in the SPL heavy, and but like I say, Mark kind of paved the way, and at the end there, I showed Alma and where Alma came in and dominated for years. For the next few years, Alma dominated the classes, the unlimited class, by leaps and bounds until J.E. Lovelace beat her in 1998. But she always was just a wonderful spokesperson for the sport, and she was very nice, outgoing, loved to take pictures with people, and as much as she could for the sport. She was really into it, but I think she was kind of more pulled into it than anything, or drawn into it, I'd say. But it was great for the sport, though, as far as her being an ambassador like she was. It's hard to imagine, that, without her, is what she did is, it's one of those things that, it's kind of, if you were there and saw the vehicle and 6410s and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to believe. It's kind of like the bread truck. That's the reason why I threw it in there, because it's one of those things that's just hard to believe, back then, how powerful the drives were, but it also goes back to some of the reasons why the rules changed and had to come in, because at that time you didn't even have to have the points to come to the show. You just showed up at the show. So it was stuff like that, showing up at shows. What do you do when you show up? And they got a 6-foot subwoofer. And so nobody really had a chance to prepare for it like you do now, and kind of go through it and get your points and earn your spot at the finals. But it also goes back to the same thing in 2000, when it was heavily made for that, and they only locked in a certain amount of spots. It became bad in the same sense for the guys that were towing vehicles. I actually didn't get to show in 2000, even though I had more points than I had ever had going to shows. But there was only a certain amount of spots the way Wayne had set it up for that year, and I actually got points out. And that's pretty much how did you come up with having to have points to come to finals. That's where it came from.